Hello everyone, Kenty Tiger here with Bengali Engineering and Play. We are back in Space Engineers. We're actually doing some Space Master creative building. And what I have been thinking about, I've actually built several battleships over the course of time, and they have been varied in success. So this was a new start, and what I started doing was just mocking up things. So I used the big turrets, um, and then branched out from there. So this is the Mexpex Warfare Industries V 1.0.2. Um, and it's a redo of the I think it was MWI revamp. So anyway, all of the weapons that you see here are actually in a single mod pack. Um, the intention was to have a very well armed machine that I could, do a lot of different things with. So it will eventually have refineries. I was originally going to do this as vanilla as possible, and there were a lot of things that just were no, that's not going to work. So unfortunately, I kind of had to backpedal a little bit on that, but so there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 mods, um, and some of those may not be used. They're just my kind of semi-standard mod list. Um, so I'm still working on things, but I wanted to cut in. Obviously, all of this done off screen so far. Um, so let's do the quick tour here. The weapons that you see, the single turret weapons here, are it's called an anti-missile. It's a 20 millimeter, but anti-missile turret. You can see it's a 6-barrel Gatling type weapon. These are the anti-fighter turrets. They actually sit down. You can see how they look. They actually sit down one and then have the thing on the bottom. These are a 3x3x1. So you do have to have the room. These are the X3 heavy cannons. I have no idea ultimately what they're going to do, but they're supposedly a 460 millimeter shell. So that should be pretty interesting. I'm sure it's going to do quite a bit of damage. The thing about these large shells from Mexpex, Mexpex, yeah, the large the large weaponry, it does an incredible amount of damage. As would be expected. The upside to them, they're semi-balanced because they take like 20 seconds to reload. So yeah, you can do an incredible broadside, but they take, a certain amount of time to reload. So they're balanced from that respect. But the intention here was that this would be very well protected from missiles, very well protected from fighters. So we have the fighters here on the side, or anti-fighter. So there's 8 up front here. There are actually 10 port and starboard. So these are stacked underneath the bridge here. Just did some reworking on the bridge. Originally it looked a bit different than what you see now. the bottom line was that I wanted to put antennas up here, so I'm using the stock vanilla antennas, and I'm actually using the center one here, and not done with the antennas. So 6 more anti-missile turrets here in the center. These will be fighter bays, and if I can do a small fighter, then there would be 6. So it would be basically 3 port, 3 starboard. So right now I need to work on actually labeling the doors so you know what set you're opening. And what I may actually do is just take all these out, because these were more put in for I needed to see what they were going to look like and how they were going to work. So what I may actually do is take them out and then put some back in, and then I'll be renaming as I go. This will be the main hangar bay. Now this is kind of the bottom of the vessel here, which is, you know, flat line versus the top. So this is, if we back off here just a little bit, this is kind of designed in classic seagoing battleship style. So we have the 2 large 3 cannon turrets in front, and 2 large 3 cannon turrets in the back. Anti-missile defense here, anti-missile defense here, 6 and 6, and then we have 5 more 5 port, 5 starboard on the anti-fighter, which then is the very back end of the ship here. Now, one of the things I was doing, I had installed the mod. I am a big fan of Prosimian's armored conveyors, and I had them loaded, but when so you can see the Prosimian armored mod is here, and then I all of a sudden shift to vanilla, and the reason for that was that I really did intend to build this as vanilla as possible, and really what happened was kind of wasn't going to happen. It just, there was too many things here that were not going to be vanilla, so not deciding to not be confined to vanilla said, okay, I'm gonna start swapping stuff out. So that's actually one of the things that I want to do, using the large gate here. This was from Darth Biomech, when Darth Biomech was still doing designs. So these are used throughout. So this is the forward reactor room. So I kind of had the shape that I wanted as far as the slope goes. I could actually change a few things other than where the reactor is. So this was about as far back as I could go using the standard vanilla blocks. So what I was thinking originally was that I would come out a ways and then slope up, and I couldn't decide whether I want to do a 3 or a 4, and I think I'm going to go ahead and do or a 3 or 5, sorry, because we're an odd number across. So I think I'm going to do just the 3, because I think the symmetry here would be about a 45-degree angle. Now what I don't know is how things are going to happen here. These holes that you see in the deck are from I did actually have a pair of refineries here, and then there were the upgrades on the back, and underneath those were actually 2 shield generators. And I'm gonna move, so the shield generators, there was 4 forward and 4 aft. So you can see these 4 aft ones here. that are underneath the higher turret, and I think I can do that same thing here. Then the question is, you know, do I put them forward? Do I put them aft? And this is as forward really as they go. So the only other weapon I didn't mention, these are the dual tele and octo cannons, which are, I think, a 420 millimeter weapon, but they're fixed mount. So these happen to be the stackable ones. One is facing up and one is facing down. So the idea was just to stack them, and they're fixed mount. So these may also be the have to remove them and put them back in for sake of renaming, because there's a bazillion of them. There's 8 on each side under each of the large turrets. So you can see there's 8 and 8, 8 and 8 on the starboard side, and then there's the 8 and 8 forward here. So these are going to take a little while to rename. The intention would be to have forward port battery, starboard port or starboard forward battery. So basically these 16 or really 32, because they're duals, would fire simultaneously, and then I could turn on and off the outside batteries. So I'm guessing by the time everything is done, this is going to be a fairly safe and effective battleship. So left to be designed is the fighter that will go here. I will probably also, have a miner that will be here. So the other thing that I'm still toying with is how do I connect in like a projector? Do I do auto grinding, auto welding, all that sort of thing? Anyway, the reason I came back in and started to video was I've been building, and I'm to the point where I'm kind of starting to greeble and all that sort of thing. So what I wanted to do was go ahead and get the video running while I'm doing a lot of this. So hopefully this will be a little bit interesting. I'm going to probably be more focused on building than babbling, so forgive me for that, but on we go. So in this case, we're basically coming from this outer edge and running into the center. The centers are going to be kind of interesting because of, in fact, let me go ahead and we'll do this one first, and then come in towards the outside. Alright, so this should be a single layer going towards the center. I'm going to leave that one for just a moment. I need to check another couple things. There is no side mount on these large weapons, and what I mean by that is this whole surface is non-mountable. So what I don't want to have happen is for this whole thing to come falling apart. So what I'm going to do is put some connectors in here, and that's to say I'm connecting the different pieces together, so things don't arbitrarily fall apart. And these may or may not go anywhere. So it just the idea here is to connect things together. So those are actually already connected via the batteries, and the same here, including all the way forward, which is then here. So I don't really have to worry about anything between these two. Okay. Having done that, let's go back up here and we'll start gutting the center. So we're putting in I think it's going to end up being the 5. So I don't, hopefully this will not fail hardcore. One of the things here is that you can see there's a port and a port, and I don't know if these are independent or not. I truly have no idea, so I'm focused on plumbing them all in. There's also a port on the perpendicular side here. So those 2 ports happen to be together, and then these 4 are exposed. So with the 5 port that you see here, actually in this case it can be a 4 port. Figure out where this one is here. There we go. Okay, so that one goes in like this. Yeah. So this one effectively did not need a top or a forward, but it did need the other 4 directions. So what this one will be is a T to come in. There we go. So that one's forward, and then this one will be a 5. There we go. So effectively up and all 4 directions. This one is also going to be a 5, except turned up. Now, what I am looking for is ultimately, and I think it's this one, which is, so that is the feed to the cannon up top. So that's going to have to be a 6-way, and then we'll shift back to the 5 for the rest of the journey here. Alright, and then we'll spin this one over, and then go the rest of the way here. Alright, and now so we should be able to, yep, so the 5, and then this one can actually be a T facing up, so like this. Now as I plumb different things in, then I may actually move some more things around. Add some connections. You notice I have an open hole there. That really was intentional because I want to put air vents in the front here. So it's just a matter of figuring out how am I going to put those air vents in and where. So I may change that, but ultimately I think everything will be there. So this space obviously will also need ventilation of some kind. So figuring out how I want to do things, and it may be as simple as I don't even know what this space is going to be. This is just, you know, a space right now. So I know this is the reactor room right now. I do not have any you know, maybe I'll do like some hydrogen storage, and I'm using the Kenti mod for the hydrogen just because I want people to be able to, you know, march through here. Let me see. So just I'm gonna work my way back here. So this one logically, I'm gonna go ahead and put all right, the 5. So this one needs to be a T. I just have to figure out what's... All right, so so the T there, I ultimately will probably remove those the armor plate up there because it's not needed. Turn that off for a moment so I can figure out. All right, so that should be correct. The 4-sided, so that's basically the edge connector. This one needs to be a 5, but turned, so that's the backside. Okay, so this should be like this, because all the feed is coming in from down here. Okay, so we'll pull all these out and then start putting everything together here. So 5, that's a 5-way, 5-way. This one I think will be the 6-way. So that's a 6-way armored, and a 5 again. Spin to make sure I've still got that oriented the correct direction. Alright, so this one is actually going the opposite direction here and ultimately going through. So 5, and then I'll flip and alright, so the 5 and flip, and then ultimately I am now in, oh, this is in the hangar bay, or the beginning of the hangar bay, and more So ultimately, what I have to understand here is what all is going on here. So what I think is, so obviously here is, and let me go ahead and take these out so I can see what I'm doing. And ideally I should have as the, you know, you're not oh, and I even destroyed weapons, which is this is just so fucking frustrating. It deletes things that you don't want it to delete. And there's no way to know. That's the really frustrating part about it is you can't. So your reticle is pointing at the block, the red is at the block. You know, there's no way to know. It is just one of those things. It is what it is. Alright, so one. See if I'm any more successful on this side by using something besides a block, I guess. Alright, that helped a little. Now we'll go outside here and see if we can salvage this. May or may not be able to make this work. There we go. Alright, so let me grab the so what I have to do is find that, there we go. So take ownership of everything. This is just to salvage the fuck up of space engineers here. 600 meters, which is fine. I don't like idle movement on because it's CPU time that you don't need to waste. So this is anti-fighter, so it doesn't really need to do missiles. There is missile defense for that, and why neutrals is defaulted on, so you kill your your colleagues and everything else that are not necessarily in your faction but not enemies. I don't know why that made sense to anybody. Alright, so owned by me. So we'll go up, and there is a anti-fighter group. So save, and then off and off. Okay, and that should have disappeared. Alright, so we have technically recovered that. I'm going to use the paint trick to get this thing facing in the correct direction. So I'm gonna paint this black, which will yeah. All right. Okay, so mostly recovered there. So one of the other things I need to do here is go ahead and delete the plates. Alright. Well, you know what? I guess I could leave the plates on here. This is somewhat exposed. Alright. So this is the rear access hatch to get into the bridge here, and then ultimately there'll be one down below as well. So most of this is just having to come back through and really just figure out how everything was plumbed in. So I didn't do the plumbing underneath, so these are just here to be here. Those are actually armored connectors, which is another mod that I have installed. This is part of the Killer Corporation's conveyor expansion. That's part of that. Alright, so that's a number 4, which can go in there. And then those are back in. So we need a T, which will turn sideways, and then that can go like this. Alright, and then that will ultimately for so this is this is another mod that Digi in fact made this one, so let me turn this off so we can see it. It is a conveyor air vent, so it's basically a conveyor with an air vent on one side. So it's flush mount. It's awesome. There's another version of it that's the 45 degree. So it's got the conveyor port on the back, and then 45 degree with the air vent on the 45 slant. So it's actually really neat. Now I could put 3, but I'm more into just 1 as a backup. All right, so oops, that cannot be that one. This is going to have to be a T. Can't see it. All right, so there's so let me get back to the number 4. All right. There. Not sure what that one needs to be yet. Alright, so we have the weapons here, so let's continue. This is a number 4, which is exactly what I need. And then this will be a number 5, which ultimately is the elbow. Do we do elbows or T's? I don't think it really matters. And then this will be an edge connector, which will be like this. So basically the side, in this case the starboard side and the bottom, are not doing anything. So that's our forward conveyance there. So let's go ahead and put that one in, and that one. And hopefully, yeah, so some of these are still not correct as far as rotation goes. I've had problems with these in the past. I've had to, in fact, rebuild entire builds because I couldn't get to things. I just had to rip them apart and put new in. That's an interesting. So if I were playing the total redundancy game here, then for the walls, even though we have stuff going on here, then I would go ahead and put, this would be a 5, which we'll put there and here, and then we would put so this is a 4, and this will be a 4 and a 4, and this will actually be, so we're not coming across the center, but it's part of our redundancy. So we're basically a port side line and a starboard side line. So in this case we have a 6, which is a T, so we'll spin that over, and I don't know where this one is going to connect in. So let's figure out what this thing is. Very likely this is going to be a 4 here. Yep. Turn it the correct way. So we'll connect that in, and I think we're just going to do an elbow there, a standard, vanilla elbow, and we'll do the same kind of a thing here. We'll create this redundancy coming across. Alright, and this is actually going to be a sideways T, like this, and then we'll use a standard elbow, like this. Alright, then we'll rip out some more stuff here as we come forward. So these three, possibly more, because that one's going, okay, that's those. So these are getting into the anti-missile turrets now. So that's an anti-missile turret up there. And same thing here. Alright, that one's there. So that's the anti-missile turret, and then this also anti-missile turret. Alright, so following along this line here, so we're going to go ahead and leave these. This becomes a T, which is a number 6. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to have to check rotation to be sure that everything looks good, which it does. Alright, so we'll continue on here. So this is going to be another standard like this. So this is the forward, figure out what this is. So the floor I don't mind being solid, but there's really no reason for this portion anyway to be that solid. So what my intentions are in this case is to alright, that back to where I was here. So I'm gonna have to turn that back off. We need a edge connector here. Alright, so that's like this, so we're crisscrossing. Oops. Okay. I was hoping that would stay there, but not gonna happen. And this is the same thing here. So one's there's another up there, so there's a 4 and a 6, which is a T. And then these are 2s, which I am... so the question is, do I just go into that one? Or do I connect across? And change tactics a little bit here. This is going to do this, and this one actually is going to turn into, I think that one is going to be, we're going to change this into a cross, which is a number 7. flatten that out. That'll go there. We will go ahead and put a 1 there, and then this will become, well, let's do that. Conveyor is a conveyor, so a lot of this is aesthetics, kind of however we want to look at it. All right. So in the case here, we're going through a bulkhead. So we'll go ahead and dial in. There's a 5 and a 5. I know these numbers seem a bit strange, but the 5 is the toolbar number. Just in case anybody missed that. Oh. Alright. Alright. So this is basically all 3 of the landing bays now are converted. Including everything that's up on top. So what I want to go ahead and do at this point is recreate the walls, make sure. Alright, so that one's... I'm not sure what's going to be up here yet. Possibly I want to put projectors, independent projectors up here that will be able to do fighters or miner or whatever ultimately. So I'm gonna leave the hole here for now. You know, ultimately this is the ramp down, then through the door, and then you'd either fall in here. Ultimately this is going up to the bridge, so there may actually be elevator. I want to put VZC, I think, VCZ elevator, which is a multi-floor elevator, the top, the bottom, and then all the different mids, and it figures it all out for you. It's actually really neat. And I don't know if it works in multiplayer or not, but I have had success in my own loads. Alright, so kind of fixing things as they were. So let me go ahead and turn on mirroring again, and we'll put the bulkheads back in. Alright, so that should be okay there. Yep. Alright. Through, and then same thing here. Put the bulkhead back in, but we're going to use the lighter materials. So this particular ship, because it's going to be heavily shielded and heavily armed, I went ahead and decided to use light armor. Light armor, obviously, if you're really in a pickle, is not going to last very well for you. But all right. I'm also going to take down, this is the port and starboard side conveyors, and the reason I'm gonna do that is because I want to change them out with I'll show you, number 7. These are 4 long, or 4, and we're gonna need a 3. Here it is. And eventually I will come back through and figure out how I want to deal with bulkhead, air vents, all that sort of thing. So again, this is going to be the hangar bay. What I do not know, this is Shastul's force field door. What I do not know is if this is airtight. I have no idea. So I'm going to have to play with that and see. I hope it is, but I do not know. May have been a bit premature to put the batteries in. That's a 4. Okay, so these should be let's just lie outboard and go up. Yep. So these are the anti-missile turrets here. We should have 2 sets of these, which is what these will be. So put those in, and then we'll go down the center and do the same thing. And I don't actually know what's over here. Let's work our way out and find out. Oh, that's the complete redo of that. And of course I have batteries all through there. Alright, that's not a bad thing. Alright. Conveyor, 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 conveyor. Alright, so let us rebuild our way out. Alright. Alright, so I can build from the center here. and go around the other side. All right, so this is going to be a T. And then this needs to be, just have to spin it the correct way. That should be it. Alright, so now that that piece, that one does not rotate correctly, I'm going to go ahead and turn this back on 7 and 2. Which should bring me out to here. But those, alright. Going to have to duck into this corner. So we have a 4, 5. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go and put that one in. Because that's one that does not rotate correctly. 9. So I have to sneak across to the far side and do the same thing over here because this one does not paste correctly. Okay, now I should be able to turn on mirroring again. Then I need a T. Alright, and I suppose I may be kind of backing myself into a corner here, which may or may not be a good thing. Okay, so in this case, everything has come back to the center line, and I'm kind of doing the same thing we were doing before. Now I'm even with this lower set. In this case, we need a number 9. We're going to turn off rotation, and so in this case we're coming up. Let me go ahead and turn this off so we can see. So I'm coming up here and then coming out, but I need to connect there and there. So the 9 yep, so like this. just like we did on the bottom, this is going to be a 5 turned over. So there's the flat side, so 2 will be to rotate that one all the way through. There's a 5, 5, 5. This will probably, oh, next one will be the, oh, am I totally lost here? Solid. I have to have missed it. I think it's this one. Yes, right here. I missed it. Alright, so 6, which will connect everything in, and then go all the way to the end and down. So in this case, headed down again, and back on the bottom. Good. Which should lead into, yes, the next set. Alright, so in this case, it's just batteries on the bottom. So we basically are using a number 5, except we're going to turn it over the correct way. So there it is. Rotate that. And then 5, and then I need to get myself out of here. So 1, 2 more. And this one here, let me go ahead and turn off and see what I need. So I need a 4, which is basically an edge connector, which is number 9. Which is this. In this case, I think it's going to be a number 5 because we are connecting in 5 directions. So we need a number 5, and it's actually turned this way, so we connect all the way. Okay, and this should be another set that connects. Yep, we can see them right there. Then this is the upper set here. So interestingly enough, we can put a T right here and just make sure it's facing the right direction. Yep. So we basically connect onto that row, connect top, and connect bottom. Right? Very simple. Alright, so in this case, we really can just have a 4 here because that isn't going anywhere. So let's, rather than be redundant as this was, we'll go ahead and do a number 5. Except it's going this direction. This one can be a T. Okay, so we have like this. And then this one is going to be, oops. Alright, so this is where the beginning of this one is, which can be a 5. Okay, so it connects every direction. This one now can actually be a 4 because it doesn't go anywhere. All it's doing is going straight in. Now the downside is that I've lost all of my redundancy. There are no longer a port and starboard. So this is my single point of failure here. If this takes damage, then I cut the whole front end of the ship off. I've only got a single piece there. All right, so we were using 5s, so 5, 5 and 5. I can cut this whole bottom row out. I don't think my upper section is going to fall off. I just want to make sure it doesn't. All right. And there we go. Okay, there's the 5, and this will be the 6 because it goes up to the turret, and then we're 5s again to the end, which is here. All right, now we do the 5s again, except rotate it around the other way, except for this one. So this one's going to be a 5. We're going to rotate the correct direction. This one's going to be a 6 because we're connecting into the reactor. Then we go back to 5s. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. And we're kind of going to do the same thing again. So we have the 5 there. This one will be a 6 going in here. And we'll fix all of these coming around. Alright, the other thing I need to do is change this guy out, which is a 4, and the 4. So that's a redundant link. Now, theoretically, I could come out this way and up. I don't know what I'm doing here yet. And so this is the outside of the vessel, obviously. So I could actually come out here and do this and put in my redundant lines again, which I would like to. I just have to figure out how to do that. The good news is we are almost all the way forward. These, go ahead and change these guys out. These guys actually are, there were 2 more refineries here, so this guy is no longer that. And this guy, and this guy. Alright, so those are all swapped out. These here are the, I think there's only 4. Yep. Oh, there are 5. So 5 of the anti-fighter here. Alright, so effectively we can pull all of these out. I could not connect these directly because this is... Oh, I could. Huh, I could do that. Especially with armor pieces. So let's go ahead and turn on mirroring again. 4 and a 5. Alright, so we have this direction. So we should be able to, I'm going to go ahead and change the color of this to this. Then we'll change back. So there's not a whole lot of that exposed. So normally I would not want to do that because of exposure. Alright, turn off again. This one I think is going to become a number 9 by way of... So I need to connect that there, and then come out to the sides. Right now, not doing anything coming forward, but that may change. 4s out to the side. Alright, so that's connected from the center coming out. These are all of the turrets here, which will be T's, which is number 6, so that is sorry about that. Alright, and we'll go ahead and change this over to a 5, which basically will terminate our forward section of the conveyor system. So that's about as far as that goes. Now, oh, sorry, this is the aft end of the ship. So, oops. So what I have not decided is conveyors, connectors, all that sort of thing. I truly have no idea how I'm going to do everything. Ideally would be to put a connector back here, or do I want to do port and starboard connectors? I really have no idea. Haven't put a lot of thought into that. I wouldn't mind putting connectors. I think having a port and starboard aft connector would actually be a good idea. So let's go ahead and build in that sort of redundancy. So there's the T, which will rotate correctly. We'll go ahead and put this in here, and because I'm trying to keep everything armored, then we'll do armor connectors. This particular mod has not been updated for a while, so I don't know if the lighting indicators actually change. I don't believe that they do. Okay, so this is connector aft starboard. And connector aft port. Okay, so once again we will transfer everything to me. Yes. Alright, so we have, I believe, successfully changed out all of the conveyor system with the new stuff. Now, I want to I really want to do I think I will do it here. Port and starboard. I really want to follow this through port and starboard. So this is all going up the center, but if I did port and starboard all the way through, I think that would be a much better idea. So, having said that, I'm way over time again, which I do apologize for. So this is Kenty Tiger signing off. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time.